Okay, folks, we were literally over the moon with excitement watching Perseverance land on Mars, furthering the ever questions of how did we get here? Is there life outside of our own planet? And being an investor, you have to ask the question, is there any way for me to get involved in this? Can I invest in this industry? Is there even money to be made? I mean, they're not building hotels on Mars. You can't rent a Tesla and take it through the craters of the moon. So I don't feel like any investors are really looking at this space, except for Cathie would. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. How do you make money in the space industry? So I want you to consider hitting that like, subscribing for future updates, folks. So starting with some very basic questions like, how much will space grow? Is space exploration even growing? Well, according to Morgan Stanley, estimates that the global space industry could generate 1 trillion or more by 2040, up from the 350 billion that we're currently spending. And I think this is a gross undervaluation of this current market, considering if we just try and value what Starlink alone is worth, I mean, it could easily make up this $1 trillion market cap, likely in the next decade, let alone the next 20 years. But heck, let's just talk about the cost of this stuff, because it is exuberant. Like, it's crazy. Perseverance, which launched, by the way, several months ago in July of 2020, cost $2.4 billion to build and launch, and will cost another $300 million to basically land and operate during its first year on Mars. Now, this is where things get super exciting, guys, because when you're looking at these kind of numbers here that are spent, these are actual write-offs against governments, businesses. So where are they actually spending this money to put this material together? Now, I talked about this in a video yesterday where I literally took my line of credit and I threw it all on this one company called Lockheed Martin. Now, Lockheed Martin is a company that is being bought up right now by Cathie Wood and the likes of many investors that are interested in the space race, let alone the fact that this company is primarily partnered with the government in aerospace and tons of other stuff that I highly recommend you go check that video out. But just taking a look at it, guys, it has been trading down drastically, and Lockheed Martin was responsible for basically allowing Perseverance to literally land on Mars. They were responsible for building the heat shield, all the aeronautics to basically balance it, and then eventually just poof the parachute and get this thing into landing mode, which is absolutely incredible that nobody is really talking about this. And I just quickly want to share with you this video because I found it super exciting, and I'm glad that I have an investment in this industry.
Lockheed Martin has a long history of helping NASA get to and study the red planet. Right now, 3 missions orbiting Mars are flown and controlled here in Colorado. And today, the company added to its impressive track record in space.
It is definitely the culmination of a lot of work, a lot of design.
David Beaker is the program manager for Lockheed's aeroshell that protected Perseverance, protecting the rover through the atmospheric environment, including the heat and pressure.
Confirmation that the back shell has separated.
Another successful start for a mission to Mars, helping us learn about what's beyond our own atmosphere and how we can do better back here on Earth.
Aside from how cool that is and how cool that I can actually own a piece of this, which makes you feel even more excited when you're watching this stuff happen live, guys, Lockheed and the rest of the aerospace industry right now, we're talking about things like Boeing and a lot of other companies, is dominating. It is doing so phenomenally well, with 70% of its revenue coming from the government, the army, which obviously comes with a little bit more exposed risk. But considering this company has actually grew revenue in the midst of this pandemic, in my humble opinion, it doesn't make any sense for it to be trading down 23% from its all-time highs, considering, guys, that back in 2019, Lockheed Martin had about $140 billion in backlog orders. Now, this is largely due to the fact of their other industries, but we want to more or less hone in on space. But still, I think this is an incredible way to own the space industry and collect a really healthy dividend while owning a great company at what I believe to be a marginal discounted rate from where it was currently trading here, folks. But heck, we could even talk about Honeywell. Now, Honeywell is a consumer brands product business, guys, that also pays out a 1.8% dividend yield. It is a little bigger than Lockheed, but you're paying a much higher PE ratio for this. And Honeywell is largely involved with everything from building the astronaut suits to even having right now a satellite up in space that has a greenhouse on it, where they're basically trying to see what it's like to grow plants out in space. But oh my God, this company does so much. If we scroll down, maybe I can just play a little bit of this video here. It kind of just shows all the insanity that they're involved with, which goes so far beyond than I think most people are aware, because this industry is so knit right now that even Honeywell currently is partnered with Lockheed Martin on a lot of the Mars rover stuff. I mean, Lockheed Martin's Mars lander counts on Honeywell MIMU to study the red planet. So even going back here, guys, they just said we provide satellite bus production and stable, reliable, precise control. So they inherit systems, reaction wheels, control, momentum, gyros, momentum control. Like, you can really start seeing, unless you're technically inclined inclined to try and understand this stuff is very, very hard. And I'm just a numbers guy. I can just look at the books and say, heck, these companies are really well established. They're very forward thinking. They're part of all these lunar and Mars missions, and I just really want to be a part of it. This is a very safe, staple way of doing it, and I recommend right now that every investor start trying to find a way to allocate this into their portfolio. But if you are like me, you don't want to do subnormal here, guys. You want above average market returns. You want to fast track your financial independence so perhaps one day you can retire early. And there's only one person to turn to right now that's focusing heavily on this space. And we got to talk a little bit about Cathie Wood, who actually came out the other day to talk about her space ETF, and maybe you can take a quick listen.
Talk about something that's exciting a lot of us here at CNBC, and that's the Mars landing tomorrow. It's going to be one of the great technology feats of all time. I know you filed for a space ETF. Can you tell us what excites us about space? You said earlier in December it's important to get on the right side of change and stay on the right side of change because it's hit escape velocity. Is that what this is about?
Yeah, we do put space into that category. We will not, I can't say anything. We're in the quiet period when it comes to the fund itself. You have to wait until the SEC deems it effective. But yes, the right side of change. And the reason is always the same. Costs associated with launching, with rockets themselves, with antenna, they're all coming down dramatically, thanks to both the private and the public sector. But I think the private sector has really helped NASA out here. You've got Elon Musk, you've got Jeff Bezos, you've got Richard Branson in another way. And on the technology side, we see SpaceX and Blue Origin pushing the envelope. So costs are coming down and the technologies are finally ready.
So what we have to understand about Cathie Wood putting these space innovation ETFs together, guys, is right now, I just believe that they're largely underlooked, and Cathie is the only one that is particularly shining a light on it right now, because to me, watching that Mars rover land was so incredible. I thought all these space stocks would be blowing up. But again, people I think are just underaware that you can even own this stuff, and we won't become more aware until we see these companies start filling out in different ETFs like the one Cathie Wood is launching. But me, prying my fingers into every aspect of investing I can, me and my business partner Matt Money discovered that they've already launched a space ETF in Japan, at which a Reddit user leaked some of their filings to show us some of the companies that were actually holding in that mutual fund ETF, and that is actually how I discovered Lockheed Martin, literally leading up to the days of this Mars landing that made me, make a $10,000 investment in it. But what I want to do is find a way to make obviously an exponential rate of return, which you're just not going to get from $100 billion conglomerates, which means we need what they call a pure play in space. Just like any industry, sometimes companies are highly focused, which comes with a lot more risk, but again, a lot more upside, guys. And we're just starting to see only a handful of companies enter into the public market space. And if you believe Cathie Wood is trying to kind of own this market, you're pretty expected that she's going to own these few public companies that are literally only just coming on the public market now when we're talking about things like Holicity. I can guarantee you Holicity is likely going to be a stock in this ARK ETF. What about Momentous? Another favorite of mine. These are both SPACs, by the way. These are all rocket launching and satellite infrastructure companies that are pure plays. They literally don't do anything else. And the only one that we have to compare to these ones right now is obviously Virgin Galactic, being the pioneer of the space. They're not even focused on pure space play as much as they are as tourism and speeding up the travel industry here, folks. But it's such a niche sector of the market. I am shocked that people aren't gobbling these things up like they're candy. Everyone is so hyped about EV and all these other industries that their valuations are getting absurd. For me, looking for growth vectors in the market, I like looking for new emerging industries that have this really cool vibe to them that eventually, the entire market will wake up to this knowledge here, and I just don't think they've done that yet. Many of you are aware, I put my money where my mouth is, and I placed 2 bets, and I'm going to give you a time frame with this as well, because obviously I bought Stable Roadhouse Acquisition Course, Momentous, and I also bought into Lockheed Martin for a safer dividend play, putting about $20,000 to $25,000 between these 2 different companies alone. And my current prediction on this industry, guys, is probably in the next, I'm going to say 2 to 5 years is when people are really going to start waking up. And usually I'm a little wrong and this stuff happens earlier than I could have expected. But we are going back to the moon 2023, 2024 timeframe. Before then, I've already explained to you the endless contracts and what these companies are going to be doing. Again, it's not like these companies are paying out. They are actually profiteering off the space industry because of government contracts, because of companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. I mean, those guys are the ones that are funneling up the big cash to prove this is possible, but they still need innovators, and it's causing spin-offs of all these little kind of these intricate companies like Momentous that is basically taking the cost of the last stage delivery for satellites from 10 million to the cost of $1 million. So you can't tell me that basically every space company or anybody putting a satellite up in space obviously wants to pay a lot less, and they're going to start gearing toward these private industries. So that is what I'm personally doing here, folks, and I pass the question off to you to let me know what you think in the comments section below. There's been a lot going on, and I'm going to be sitting down over the weekend and hopefully slamming out quite a few videos because, oh my god, guys, I didn't even know where to start today. I'm like, I could go down the psychedelic industry, I could go down the space industry, I could be talking about the market volatility and Bitcoin, and oh my god, this market is crazy, guys, and I'm just glad to be able to sit here and just have something that I'm so excited to talk about. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in that comment section below. But in light of all this, stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you tomorrow.